Welcome back. This is the third case study of the course, which is dedicated to implementing a real-time fraud detection analytics using Azure Stream Analytics with Cortana Intelligence Gallery. In this section, we are going to learn first how to define a real-world fraud detection analytics using Cortana Intelligence Gallery, which is specially a scenario from telecommunication industry. That how we are going to define in the telecom the SIM card fraud detection analysis using Azure Stream Analytics job with detailed solution architecture concepts. Then, in the second video of this section, we are going to learn how to provision and configure Azure Service Bus Event Hub and Stream Analytics job for the preparation of fraud detection analytics in real-world scenario. Then, in the third video of the section, we are going to define how to start the Stream Analytics job for the fraud detection analytics in real time for event processing and how to prepare an interactive real-world Power BI dashboard for visualizing the real-time fraudulence call coming from different parts of the world and in each and every minutes or seconds interval. This video, it's a part of the section on implement real-time fraud detection using Azure Stream Analytics, and in this video we are going to focus real-world fraud detection analytics discussion in telecom using Cortana Intelligence Gallery with Azure Streaming Analytics. In this video, we are going to focus first an introduction to the scenario, that's discussion in telecommunication on SIM card fraud detection analytics in real time. Then we would be explaining about a detailed technical solution architecture concepts for implementation of real-time fraud detection analytics using Azure Data Platform. Then we would be defining about the explanation for the implementation of real-time fraud detection analytics using Azure Interactive Data Platform with the detailed architectural components like Azure Service Bus Event Hub, Azure Stream Analytics, Azure Service Bus Topics, Microsoft Power BI, Azure Blob Storage, like that. So I hope you'll be enjoying. So let's get started. So typically in real world, a telecommunication company has a large volume of data for incoming calls for the different customers. So these types of companies, they want to detect some fraudulent calls in real time so that they can notify the customer or to shut down any services for a specific number. Or some of the cases, customers do also like to block any particular number which is a spam or probably which is not intended for their usage. So one type of SIM fraud that involves like multiple calls from the same identity around the same time but in geographically from the different location, and which are typically used to detect this type of fraud. The company also then needs to determine that the incoming phone records and look for the specific call patterns. So they need to look into the call detail records or the CDR records for the customer. So in this case study, we are actually going to focus on like the scenario for the calls in the real time, which is made around by the customer for the same time in different countries, and any phone records that also falls into this category would be written to the storage for subsequent analysis. So by this case study, once you have been completed, you'd be able to understand that how to use such kind of real-time scenario using the call record details and CDR data by streaming into as a complex event processing that's to be processed through Event Hub, then pushing into Azure Stream Analytics that simulates a stream of mobile phone metadata records. You'd be able to write that how the SQL-like Stream Analytics queries could be used to transform the data, how the aggregation should happen and looking for the patterns, and finally you would be taking a look on how the results could be stored in an output sink like in a typical static storage like blob storage, or to see the actual fraud detections mechanisms through a real-time interactive visualization through Power BI, or to process it through a webhook event triggering scenario with a serverless architecture like through Azure Functions with Redis Cache. So this is a very interactive scenarios like real-time fraud detection based on phone call data. So basically we illustrate here also that how the other types of fraud detections, like it's very similar scenarios for credit card fraud or even identity theft. So typically let's get started to talk about differences and the discussion towards like the various ways of implementations of fraud detection analytics in telecom with Azure Stream Analytics and how the typical solution architecture should look like. So here goes typically that the event sources or the data sources, which is typically the telecom or the same call records data that's actually being retrieved from the various telecommunication companies, from the cell phone locations or the towers, and those kinds of raw data has been typically used after cleaning and parsing has been pushed into as a data stream into Azure Service Bus Event Hub, and from the Event Hub it has been pushed into the Stream Analytics job as a part of processing and ingestion of the events. So in order to analyze also this data stream, make sure that the ingestion should happen into Azure a typical way that obviously we know for ingestion of the data through Event Hub, and which just lets us to ingest like millions of events through the various partitions per second, and just helps us to process and store that event information. And in this case study we have also created an Event Hub that have the call event generator application that's sending the call data continuously to this Event Hub, and also we have just configured the Event Hub further to the Azure Stream Analytics as the processor engine as a fully managed services. Now once the output has been processed through, so that's processed results that has been it has been processed in 3 different ways, like according to the requirement wise. One set of the output has been stored in the static blob storage, one set of the output has been pushed directly into Microsoft Power BI for building the real-time fraud detection visualization for quick understanding purposes, that whichever calls has been made which has been not wanted for the customer perspective, which has been fraudulent in nature over the period of time, over seconds and day by day, and what are the total numbers of calls from the same location has been made to the customer by analyzing a specific pattern. And in other way, that one side of the implementation has been also made through the help of service bus topics, that once based on the specific topic or the phone number information from the output results of the stream analytics job, the message has been pushed into the service bus, and from there based on the trigger the events has been processed through Azure function. So Azure function here that could be also used as a serverless architecture, and which enables here to trigger a webhook and predict a fraudulent data or the fraudulent call information. So mainly in this demo we are going to focus on the Event Hub, Stream Analytics and quick visualization through Power BI, but I'll be showing also that how to build up the scenarios in case of architectures through the serverless code like through Azure functions, and to trigger based on the topic information, and using the Redis cache, Azure Redis cache also for storing up the data, final data from Azure function. So in the second video we are going to talk about that how to set up the environment, what are the prerequisites for building up the case study, and then we'll be moving into the detailed demo part from the third video onwards.